I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, like, how do we out-dumb Louis Gohmert that early in the show, man? How do you top that kind of idiocy? Do you want to know? Yeah, that's how you do it. There you go. It's been a little bit since we've had Rusty Trombone over here doing this. Apparently, and the reason for this video, I have not watched this video, but the reason we had to do it, first of all, it says Russian-Ukraine war. And then right here it says, you couldn't make this shit up. First of all, he's doing that thing where he swears in his thing, but he uses an asterisk to take the word out, the letter out, so that he can get around the algorithm problems. Secondly, I can make up anything, you fucking turd. It aggravates me. It aggravates me a lot when, and I don't know what this 33 on here, and then he's got the same 33 on his shirt. So he's getting his tattoos done on a jumpsuit. Like, oh God. He's wearing stage clothes on his shows. What's happening? Anyways, but I can make up anything. He might be an uncreative asshole. I, however, can make up almost anything. The question is, would you or not? This is about Ukraine, though, and this is the hand gestures already tell us that the straw manning and the hyperbolic bullshitting will be hot and heavy. Let's see.
The Ukrainian war goes on. The Biden administration refuses to publish military expenditure.
Yeah, dummy, because from military expenditure, the Russians would be able to tell what we're sending and where it's going. See, because in that would be military transport, and they could tell by distance where it would actually end up happening. All right, fucking, God. Yes, they're keeping a big secret. I don't know why. Remember during, in the lead up to D-Day when they would post the bill right before it? What the fuck?
Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky into continuing to pursue a military agenda.
A military agenda? A military agenda? Motherfucker, his country was attacked.
Anyone going to do anything about this war? Or are they just going to complain about an energy crisis that they're contributing to and possibly even causing?
I don't know what the fuck that is. So basically, they're contributing to the energy crisis by just not giving in to Russia's rape squads. Fuck you. I mean, there you go. That's his thoughts on it. Yeah, that's the Russell Brand on the Ukraine war. He's got, what has he got? 11 minutes and change. Let's go.
Hello there, you 5.9
Fuck off.
million awakening wonders. Thank you for
Zip up your shirt. Wear a shirt. Fucking hippie Alex Jones.
joining me on this voyage towards truth, embracing the complexity of emergent and nuanced realities that are already within us, unfolding beautifully.
Jesus Christ, he's even doing the Trump hand gestures now. What the fuck is that?
At this time of shifting polarities.
Get out of here with that.
At this time of apocalypse, which can mean...
This time of apocalypse. What is that gesture? Where the universe will be fisting us all. Shut the fuck up.
Revelation, but can also mean, as you know, from the old Bible, the end of the world, which...
What? First of all, from the old Bible, apocalypse didn't mean the end of the world. It meant when all would be revealed.
Could potentially be brought about if our leaders grandstand and say things like they would be willing to use nuclear weapons, as new British Prime Minister Liz Truss has just said. So,
well, let's cut to it. Where did she say? Okay, hold on. Liz Truss, let's see. Liz Truss willing to use nukes. Let's just, that should come up. This is, oops, hold on.
You'll be ushered into a room.
So, August 24th, 2022, Daily Mail. This is what he's talking about. Liz Truss asked about nuclear weapons. She says, I'm ready to do it. That's what he's talking about. Hold on.
Privately at number 10 will be laid out in front of you what are called the letters of last resort, your orders to our Trident boat captain on whether you, Prime Minister Liz Truss, is giving the order to unleash our nuclear weapons. It would mean global annihilation. I won't ask you, would you press the button? You will say yes. But faced with that task, I would feel physically sick. How does that thought make you feel?
I think it's an important duty of the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do that.
What he's basically, yeah, I know you're going to say yes, but it's like a final strike or whatever. The point they're trying to make is, and this seems to be, it would make me physically ill. Certainly, as a woman, you would feel physically ill. Okay, they're not. The UK isn't going to nuke anybody.
We have an important situation. We have the Ukrainian war where we're invited to sympathise, understandably, with the
Yeah, that's understandably.
victims and not analyse too deeply the causes of the war and the...
Yeah, this is Russell Brand on the Ukraine war. We're not going to analyze too deeply the causes of the war. No, you just have on Aaron Mate and Jimmy Dore and fucking Blumenthal from the Gray Zone to talk about how the place is full of fucking Nazis and they had it coming and NATO expansion. But we're not going to get too deeply into it because I'm alone and I don't understand any of these fucking things.
likely ongoing consequences and ramifications of it. We have a bizarre new revelation that the Biden administration won't be publishing military expenditure at a time when it would seem that transparency would be vital.
No, at a time when transparency would be fucking lunacy. We're finding out that as the New York Police Department tries to bring down the mob, they are refusing to list the names and descriptions of and photographs of every undercover agent that they've got everywhere. What?
But let's start with a little look at the new...
Let's start with a little look, shall we? Shall we? Let's just give it a thought. Let's stop and have a think. Yes? Let's have a think. Why don't we? Yes. You know what this is? It's two jellyfishes fighting before they have sex.
New UK leader, Liz Truss, bragging and a boasting, she will press the button if pressured. There's only one button.
If pressured.
I want you guys...
All right, yeah. But don't, talking about nuclear war, and it might be the end of the world, but I don't that. Speaking of button, get the fuck out of here. If you want any better example that this asshole does not believe a word he's saying, look at his face.
Pressing, and that's the notification button.
No. Yeah, because he wants to track you.
Press it right now in case the algorithm's against us. Now let's see how hard Liz Truss is. Go on, Liz!
You'll be ushered into a room,
All right,
very privately at
flip
number 10. Will be laid out in front of you what are called the letters of last resort.
Right. So it'll be ushered into the lessons of last resort, the lessers.
What's this guy's role? Okay, you're going to be ushered into a...
Yes, he's trying to set the scene that it's a very serious situation.
Room at number 10. Excuse me, what? Who are you? I just want to pose to you...
She's going to, if you are the prime minister, what happens if you're confronted with the weapon of last resort? Do you use the weapon of last resort? Well, clearly, this is our last resort, is it? Yes, it is. Well, then I'll use it.
These three ideas: the ongoing war, the energy crisis, advancing militarism and military grandstanding.
Yeah, using nukes as a weapon of last resort is not advancing militarism. It's advancing the Bronze Age. Stupid. And if you're at that point, there are no weapons contractors who are sitting there going, I think there's a lot of money in the post-nuclear explosion era.
And also bear this in mind as well. This week, the State Department announced that the World Military Expenditures and Arms Transfers report, which has been published for over 50 years, will no longer be produced.
Right.
As usual, that provision was buried deep inside the National Defence Authorization Act for the financial year 2022.
Yeah, because from that, you would be able to extrapolate the resources that Ukraine has and doesn't have, where they might be, what we're building up for them, when it might arrive, when the transportation costs are actually going to release, what will be involved in the Lend-Lease program. Yeah.
So there's a few things I want you to consider.
Okay, you want us to consider this. Consider this. How about consider that that's not a real window behind him. That's a television with a camera on the woodpile thing he has behind his house, but people like the look of it from his office where he used to do the show, so they moved that image in here because he's a fucking poser.
Remember, the Ukraine war, change the picture in your bio. The terrible, sad thing. The energy.
That's his description of people's empathy towards the Ukrainian people, and in response to the Russians sending in, at this point now, prisoners, but also Chechens and Wagner Group mercs that have been, I mean, there's video of them castrating a Ukrainian prisoner of war on video while he's awake, alive, and aware. And then they shoot him. But you know, it's you because you're just hashtagging, aren't you? Fuck off.
Ukraine war, change the picture in your bio. The terrible, sad thing. The energy crisis. Why is this war being prolonged?
Why? What do you mean, why is this war being prolonged? Because it's taking longer to wipe the Ukrainian identity off the map than Putin had planned. He thought it was going to be 3 weeks. And apparently, the Ukrainians aren't on board with this whole genocide thing.
Why is a new leader grandstanding about nukes?
She's not grandstanding about nukes. She's being asked a very serious question. Part of the problem with being a female leader these days is the assumption that you are somehow weaker, especially on security, than men are. So you'll find that female leaders often give more stern answers to questions than men do because they don't get the benefit of the doubt.
And why, all of a sudden, have the US State Department stopped publishing vital figures?
They're not. Okay. First of all, because we're literally helping provide arms to the Ukrainians. Yeah, it is a bunch of Slayer chick. It is a bunch of misogynistic bullshit. Right.
Is it because the information in there's so heartwarming they don't want to take us to giddy heights?
That's an interesting hand gesture you just did there, but we'll put that for another time. And no, not to giddy heights, because they don't want whatever we know, the Russians know.
Orders to our Trident boat captain on whether you, Prime Minister Liz Truss, is giving the order to unleash our nuclear weapons.
But this is weird, isn't it? It's that workshop. What's going on here? Right, Liz, now, see here, mate.
All right, he's got to break this up for, like, I don't know what the BBC's rules are with fair use. If you're criticizing policy from Liz Truss and you're criticizing her readiness to take military action or perhaps her ease at which she do it, then do so. Cracking on about the fucking guy who's interviewing her as if that's her fault or her responsibility it's a childish waste of time. He's puffing this piece up. This is supposed to be on. Remember, the title of this, first of all, on here it's you couldn't make this shit up, which you absolutely can. I could dress up as this asshole and basically parrot all this bullshit because he's just regurgitating shit we've seen from other people. Secondly, the title of this was RB on the Ukraine war. Well, get at it, motherfucker.
Lovely. You're Prime Minister now. You're ushered into a room. The
Okay, they're cutting the shit out of this too. He's a little sporadic today.
atmosphere is electric. God knows how you're paying for that atmosphere. Electricity costs a bomb these days. Now, will you press the old button?
It would mean global annihilation.
I don't think that needs caveating. Is it? Sorry, what are nuclear weapons? Oh, God, how did you even get this job?
And I won't ask you, would you press the button? You will say yes. But faced with that task, I would feel physically sick.
But you would still push the button by your own admission. The point, and it doesn't make, I got news for you, asshole. it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, when she pushes the button or whatever they do, someone else pushes the button. Someone else actually, two guys in a silo turn two keys, or two guys on a boat turn two keys too far away from each other for one person to be able to do it with both arms, and they signal each other and they do a little countdown. They have to do that too. And those guys can't throw up. They just got to do it because they don't know the rest of what's going on. That's the issue with these kind of weapons anyways. Yeah, turn your key, sir. Exactly. The Whopper, all that stuff. Exactly. You guys, from war games to like umpteen 80s movies about nuclear annihilation. We all saw them. This guy is supposed to be like, wouldn't this be gut-wrenching for you? It's like, no. Do you realize do you know how bad shit would have to be for that to play out? Do you understand? Like at a certain point, and anybody who would be in that position, the stomach churning is well over at this point. I could easily make a decision to not launch nuclear weapons. Exactly. She could too. But are you he's painting this picture and painting her into a corner and then saying, now that you're in a corner, do you walk out with paint on your feet or you fucking jump? I don't know, whatever.
He's giving us too much personal insight and personal information in what's meant to be just an interview with the Prime Minister. I would feel aroused. That missile, I'd see it as an atomic skycock. Fucking God.
All right. That's not what he said at all. As a matter of fact, he said the exact opposite.
In his mind. Right, mate, it's just an interview.
How does that thought make you feel?
I think it's an important duty of the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do that.
Yeah, this is ridiculous grandstanding, yet more theatre at a time what you need is clarity and transparency.
She's being very clear. Faced with an insurmountable choice in this circumstance, would you do the thing that's your only final option? Would you be able to take a final option in a situation where a final option is a yes? Because the belief that you would do it is one of the few things that keeps the other people from firing their missiles. If they think you would hesitate, then half of mutual assured destruction collapses. We'll fire by the time, she's a girl. By the time she gets around to it, well, it'll be too late. Their missiles will just stay in there. They're not going to attack us. We could bomb all of England and nothing will happen to us. That's the idea. So when she's answering this question, she's not answering the question, would you annihilate the rest of the world? What she is saying is to Vladimir Putin or some rogue group of people in fucking Pakistan or wherever the threat might come from that she's concerned about. She's saying to them, you shoot, we shoot. The deterrent stays. If she says, I don't know that I could be able to do that, then the people with the other nukes are like, oh, well, shit. Okay, well, let's ratchet up these things because the rest of the world might be, like if we fire on the States, they're going to fire on us. If we fire on France, they're going to fire on us. If we fire on Germans are going to fire on us. But the UK, there'll be a hesitation. And by the time that gets around to it, everybody's going to go, oh my God, they blew up the UK. And then we're back into like, we'll shoot you too. No, I'll shoot you. And then what happened to UK? They were made an example of. The point she's trying to make is, will you play your part in mutual assured destruction? Yes, I will play my part. I will not do this preemptively, but if they attack, I'll attack, which will keep them from attacking. Yeah, such a dumb hypothetical. It's too late if we're at the button decision. Exactly, Twitchy Gollum. She didn't have an option in his hypothetical situation.
Couple that with the decision not to publish military expenditure.
No, these are not aligned, dumb fuck. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. She's being abundantly clear that she would follow through if that was the thing, and not showing where stuff is, has been bought and sold and sent. And by the way, it's not just going to Ukraine. We are also teaching Polish fighters, like fighter pilots, how to use our gear, and we are sending stuff to Germany, and we are sending stuff to Norway, and we're sending stuff to surround Taiwan. And if you can backdate the sales point for arrival in the hot war situation in Ukraine. You can also make counter choices based on the budget for stuff that's coming. Like, first of all, nobody actually thinks we have $500 hammers in the defense budget or $2,000 toilets, do you? You don't really think that, do you? You got to put it in the budget. You got to put how much money is in the budget and where it's going. But you don't have to be honest about it, because if you're honest about it, they know exactly where the fuck it's going and what it's being spent on and how to counteract it. Yeah, the F-35 is a NATO plane. They all need to know how to fly it. Exactly. Where the parts are going. Do they need more parts? Are they? Did we hit them or did we not? If we send how many howitzers over there, and then when they've created the fake howitzers, and all of a sudden Russia goes, we've hit the howitzers. We've blown up 7 of them, and then they see the budget and they're like, huh? They didn't send over any repair stuff for those. They didn't a replacement for those howitzers or any of the replacement for the vehicles that towed them. That's weird. Maybe we missed.
And the story that Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky.
Boris who? I'm sorry. He's the who's he again?
Publish military expenditure. And the story that Boris Johnson.
I'm not familiar with his work. Maybe he's a writer at the Daily Mail.
Pressured Zelensky to continue the war when Zelensky was ready to seek a peaceful solution. You have a very peculiar situation emerging.
I think it's an important duty of the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do that.
Bravo, bravo. Not only is that my life, that's my children's life and my grandchildren's.
No, it isn't, asshole. Her not saying that is your children's life and your grandchildren's life, because we don't trust the Russians. They are not trustworthy. And if they think you might not shoot back or you will delay, they might be more apt to kill your children. Yeah.
Life. All of the birds, all of the insects, blades of grass, all gone. Well done, well done. You certainly now don't look like a substitute teacher or a deputy headmistress at a village school.
Okay, nothing, misogynistic or like the condescension is gross.
You're a powerful person who's ready to indiscriminately kill people. Well,
no, she isn't. She's ready to respond to the indiscriminate killing of people in kind if that choice comes, therefore letting the people who might indiscriminately kill people, who, by the way, are currently indiscriminately killing people in Ukraine, letting those folks know that they will get what they give if they think about it. If she doesn't do that, then you're just welcoming the Russians to use you guys as an example.
Well done. Not like old walrus chops over there. That's literally an audience of people applauding their own demise.
No, it's the exact opposite.
That's how well we've been trained.
How the UK can't launch without US approval? Well, believe me, if we've given them tacit approval. They're not going to have to call afterwards. If we'll be in coordination. Like I said, by the time that stuff happens, things are so fucked that everybody is making gut-wrenching decisions all day, every day.
Trained by the media. That's how embedded these narratives and ideas are. What's in people's mind that you're applauding that? So
you're applauding the fact that she's willing to do this so that you remain safe. It's the same thing as saying, if you are in a situation as a police officer and someone pulls a gun on you, are you willing to fire back? Yes. Even if it means killing you and the other person, yes. Because it will save the people behind me, but also letting people know that they don't walk up on somebody and go, these cops around here, they don't pull their guns. I'll just shoot them.
Press the button. Yes, under certain circumstances, I will destroy civilization.
All right, does his audience actually buy this bullshit? Or are they just bots that go, yeah, he's fucking with the right people and being condescending towards women and ridiculing the new prime minister because she's a chick.
It's not like at the end of an interesting rally between the Williams sisters. Oh, that's good. That's very good. Wow, what can be achieved with all that training and a go-get-em father? This is the annihilation of Earth, of all of our realities.
I asked how it would make you feel.
You're applauding, and we're all happy about the annihilation of planet Earth. But I actually asked how it would make you feel.
I'm ready to do it.
Who cares how she feels anyway?
Well, that's kind of the point. It wouldn't matter how she feels.
Who cares how a person feels after they've destroyed the planet? If the planet's been destroyed, oh well, never mind that, all that infrastructure, Michelangelo, everything, that's all gone, everything's gone now. But how do you feel? Let's get to the nub. Never mind all the children that will never be born.
Also, psychologically, the answer to that question is, again, another tip of the hat to whomever the adversary might be, that, you know, I don't think she's serious about it. I know she said it, but she said it would make her sick to her stomach. So I'm going to go with she's not strong enough to do it. Yeah, any leader of any country would give the same answer. And if they don't, they're welcoming murder.
History annihilated. Perhaps if you believe that human life only exists on Earth, or, you know, conscious sentient life, the annihilation of the conscious experience and meaning itself. How did you feel about that? Just was a bit worried about it, really. I felt a bit down in the dumps, a bit down in the mouth about it, really. Yeah. At least the most...
Well, she knows it's a condescending question. You can tell by the look on her face. She's like, this is not a question you ask men. And the dude tries to, like, give himself an out by going, it would make me sick to my stomach. But the question, like, this is a question about, look, we know chicks can't pull the trigger. That's what that is.
Most powerful nation on Earth, the United States of America,
Thanks for noticing.
aren't concealing how much money they're spending on weapons.
Right. Because if we don't, Russia will know where those weapons are going, when they're being transported, where they'll arrive, how many repair parts we have, what kind of casualties we expect, what NATO support we're giving, and what limited allocations are moving about the globe, where our ships are parked around Taiwan.
Oh, no, they are doing that. The elimination of this important program comes as sources say that the United States is virtually unable to track what happens to the military equipment and weapons being sent to Ukraine.
Source: Law Enforcement Today. LawEnforcementToday.com. Daily number of illegal. This is, I mean, it's just cops, right? It's just cops talking. It's just a cop talk thing. If you want a job, you can write for them. Daily number of illegal immigrants entering U.S. shatters previous record, highest in U.S. history. Whoops. Can you guess the number? In the featured must-reads. Let's see. Photo of trooper praying for dad with cancer goes viral. Daughter to honor father with nonprofit work. New York's new unconstitutional ammo registry threatens not just gun owners, but also conservation in the state. Bus drops off migrants in front of Harris's home. Suddenly, Biden asking for Mexico to stop border crossings. Caught on camera, woman handcuffed, placed on police SUV, gets officer's rifle, opens fire. The list you don't want to be on here are the top 10 worst states in America to be a cop in. New plan for police defunded NYC. Detectives will be posted as scarecrows to deter crime. Where the fuck is this? Investigations later. Off-duty deputy under investigation for shooting former inmate who tried to choke him out at his home. Yeah, there's always there's investigation after every shooting. Man arrested for breaking into the house of ex-girlfriend, desecrating the remains of her child, claims he was blacked out. Man, okay, this is just crime shit. Okay, so news. Let's see. Around the world. It's probably in around the world. We're going to guess it's around there. Okay. Red alert for America. China can take down the United States without firing a shot through technology. Beijing, while Biden administration continues its assault on constitutional rights of Americans, focusing on so-called domestic terror. You get the feeling that law enforcement today has a slight political slant to it? so-called domestic terrorism, in quotes, committed only by its political enemies, China continues to work on its plan to take down the United States, not directly through the use of technology. But through the use of technology. According to Slay News, the communist nation has been utilizing technology. Slay News, girl. Slay. Here you go, Slay. Ron Paul reveals the next big financial scheme. Fuck, man. Communist China is waging digital war on the West. They also, diabetes makes your balls shrink. Hey, look at this. And right there, happening now. Russell Brand, you can't make this up. Look at that there. And Bongino, look at Bongholio. Recommended videos. Suck it up, leftoids, you're losing, says whoever. Biden's DOJ now begging judge to keep Trump documented. Arguably boasts world's largest naval fleet, though they have only one overseas naval base. Meanwhile, U.S. maintains central communist China, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Slay. So this is The View, something about The View, Jesus. Atheist American author says terrorist mastermind bin Laden is a better person than Donald Trump. Saudi Arabia, other Middle East countries warn Netflix over, and he's like, hey, what's next? Yet another fertilizer crunch. Why the Russians started the war by targeting police stations. Hint: divide and conquer. New Mexico, most transparent administration. There it is. This is it. This is the article. Most transparent administration in history, which is in quotes, stops publishing military expenditures, arms transfer reports. From J.J. Patrick, August 27th, Around the World, editorial. From the most transparent, we find out. This week, State Department announced it's not going to do that, right? Under the law, it's required, but you don't have to do it. So here you go. The real Tory Brooke is a U.S. announced it will no longer be publishing its military expenditures and arms transfers. Why would the most the announcement read? The Department of State published December 29th section of this. Consistent with this repeal, the Department of State will cease to... National Defense Authorization Act of fiscal year 2022 repealed the 1994 statutory provision that required the Department of State to publish an edition of WMeat every year. Yummy. Look, a Tucker story embedded. A simple Google or DuckDuckGo search for any reporting on this development comes up. Goose eggs, the only mainstream media source is Tucker Carlson. What a shock. None other than CNN reported back in April has few ways to track the substantial supply of anti-tank, anti-aircraft, and other weaponry sent across the border to Ukraine. This was 4 months ago, and the United States has poured many more tens of billions of dollars in military. Yeah, this is just this reeks of like a Russian propaganda site meant to foment like cops hating civvies and civvies hating cops.
Ostensibly to fight against Vladimir Putin's invading Russian army. We want clarity, don't we?
No, we'll have a report afterwards. I don't need in the middle of a fucking car chase for a police officer to live stream and describe everything that they're doing.
Just as a general rule.
No, not as a general rule, especially around secret military operations that could cost people their fucking lives.
This time of fracture, conflict, and
yeah, that's what it's fracture and conflict.
Obfuscation.
Obfuscation, yes. The whole world shrouded in darkness.
Uncertainty.
Has there ever been... You ever been alive during a time where there was certainty? Has anybody... Go find... I mean, you could argue that Leave It to Beaver was an anecdote to the level of uncertainty that people had just experienced with World War II coming back. No.
Doubt. We would want plain transparency from the...
No, we would not want plain transparency, you dumb fuck.
Government. Also, generally speaking, when people start to conceal things like how much money they're spending on weapons, it's not good news, is it?
Yeah, it's you might, if you look, find out that they are currently trying to help someone who is being attacked. And that person, knowing what the defensive capability and the means by which you would carry out that defense are, would be a bad thing and make them more apt to be able to attack the person they are attacking. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad that Russia invaded Ukraine. That's not a good thing. But that's why.
Oh, Oh, you thought we were spending too much money on weapons and setting up armed contracts with Lockheed Martin and Boeing and potentially taking backhanders, did you? Just because people in Congress have investments in Lockheed Martin and Boeing and companies that manufacture. Well, actually, all of that.
All right. It's a grown man. It's a grown man who has children, ostensibly, and has a meditation program that he sells. And if you go see him live, they do meditations after his show, and they kind of have a spiritual moment, kind of like a yoga gathering. And yeah, the rest of the time
weapons money was being spent on a surprise party for your birthday, and you've ruined it. You're just like your father. Some analysts estimate the true figure of the US commitment to Ukraine is up to $40 billion in security assistance, or 100.
Some analysts estimate this, and then he goes to The Intercept. Some estimate that was almost precisely the number agreed to in the spring and that has been doled out over time. Or if you extrapolate $40 billion over the last year till August of last year, before whatever, then obviously.
$10 million a day over the last year. The relentless stream of funding announcements in the absence of any public discussion of what the US is doing to seek an end to the conflict.
Oh, no. Oh, there's a whole discussion about the end of the conflict. Russia can get the fuck out and stay out. End of conflict. Matter of fact, the Russians could end this conflict tomorrow. Just take your troops out. Go away. Just fuck off. Give back the land you took. Stop bombing infrastructure and civilian buildings and piss off. Really easy. I'm sure it would really upset the military-industrial complex, too.
Has signaled to critics a recognition that there's no end in sight to the war.
Oh, no, there's an end in sight. Yeah. I mean, it probably is about 6 to 7 months. It could happen faster, but it's going to entail Ukraine taking back Crimea, and then it's going to entail them pushing the Russians back up to their own border. It'll probably mean a border dust-up or two in the next 7 months. Hopefully less time, but that would be it. That would be that's an end in sight. I can see it, especially after the last couple weeks.
And that the US is committed to supporting Ukrainian defense efforts for the long haul rather than pursue a negotiated end to it.
I'm sorry, what negotiated end would that be? That Russia gets to keep the land they took via murder? What's the negotiated end? Why and where in this is the Russian responsibility being the attacking force? We're supporting Ukraine, but we can't tell them what to do. Even if we suggested to Zelensky, get out of the country, they're going to kill you. We know they're going to try. The decapitation is their goal right now. And he was like, no, I'm sticking around. Like, okay. Even the lead up to this, Biden was like, it's going to happen. And it was like, it's not going to happen. They do this all the time. And he's like, it's happening. They're going to do this. Be ready. And they did.
Oh my God, it's happening again. It's happening again. Afghanistan, it's happening again.
No, it isn't. Unless you're talking about the Russian invasion of Afghanistan, where they destroyed half of the villages in the country just as a matter of course.
They've just had one forever war. Read a little bit of George Orwell. We've just been for...
I'm sorry, we just had a forever war? Oh, you mean the one that Biden ended?
For Afghanistan. Why are we doing Afghanistan too?
We're not. We're not sending troops in. We're supporting the Ukrainians against being attacked.
We just had the last one. The US is really preparing for a long war. It's actually preparing for endless war in Ukraine, said Stephen Semler, co-founder of the Security Policy Reform Institute.
Ooh, the Security Policy Reform Institute. So I'm guessing they formed an institute to reform what they view as security policy that is what? not good for Russia?
Why would that be? When war is bad, when we all agree that war is bad, when we've...
Yeah, well, we don't all agree. We don't all agree that war is bad. As a matter of fact, Vladimir Putin thinks it's good. It's very, very good. And he likes it. And it's one of the few things he really does like anymore. And it's the only thing he really knows how to do, he thinks. He does do it very well, but he thinks he does. And that's enough. So I don't like war. The Ukrainians would rather not be in this fucking situation, obviously. But to say we all don't like war is not true. The Russians actually think it's quite fine. They don't mind losing tens of thousands of their citizens attacking another fucking country.
We've seen that it could lead to Armageddon because Liz Truss, she's up for it. She'll press the button at the first sign of trouble. Why would we be engaged in a dalliance with perpetual destruction?
Yeah, why don't we just let Russia do whatever the fuck they want? Why don't we let mutual assured destruction be an umbrella over which, we pretend like everything's peaceful, and underneath, Russia can just fuck up anybody they want because we're all afraid of the umbrella.
Even when we know that the current consequences are negative, let alone the human suffering in Ukraine, the
human suffering in Ukraine, those poor Russian soldiers in train cars rotting in the heat outside of in Belgorod Oblast.
Energy consequences, which some people
The energy consequences.
are curious about why it has the particular impact that it's having, but
Are they? What do you mean, people in your fucking chat room who don't understand that oil and gas, like Europe's reliance on Russian oil and gas, and the fact that Russia was using their reliance on oil and gas, or presuming that they could control them with that, and then when it turned out not to be the case, people are like, all right, we're going to have a rough winter, but better that than siding with the fucking new Nazis on the block.
but nevertheless, it can't be positive. Why?
All right, sure.
Why would you want a forever war? Is there...
You don't. Nobody does. That was that dude's fucking opinion, and it's lunacy.
anybody that benefits from a forever war, then...
Yes, you, Russell. Because a forever war, I got news for you, never results in that firing of nuclear missiles you're talking about, because that'll bring everything to an end, won't it? A forever war is the low rumble below that happens all the fucking time. And the Russians have been doing this in the Donbass and in Chechnya and in Georgia and Armenia on the border with Azerbaijan and in Syria and like through parts of Kazakhstan. They fucking sent troops into Kazakhstan to stabilize the government there before they did this shit, because they didn't want that overthrown on their back door while they were attacking this country.
And we can have a clearer perspective, can't we? If we know that there are some people that benefit from a forever war, we can
Oh, nice. There's going to be a Constantine sequel? Great.
include that into our assessment of the situation, right? Should we do that, or should we not do that? Should we...
All right. This like he's just making it up as he goes along. We're watching a human being completely incapable intellectually of discussing the topics he's using for his video. He just literally is not capable of filtering reality, logic, normalcy through whatever porous fucking material he has posing as a brain in his skull.
pretend that no one does benefit? The Ukrainian news outlet,
By the way, and he's jumping the fuck everywhere.
Ukrainska Pravda, reported that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson used his surprise visit to Kiev, surprise, in April to pressure President Zelensky to cut off peace negotiations with Russia, even after two sides appeared to have made tenuous progress toward a settlement to end the war.
Even after the two sides had appeared to have made tenuous progress, they fucking poisoned two members of the team. They didn't have to be talked into this.
Pravda's reporting, along with the public statements of Johnson and other West...
Hold on. Let's see if this is Common Dreams is Ukrainska, and they publish? Hold on one second. I got to check and make sure the title is the same.
Settlement to end the war. Russia. Even after two sides pressure, President Johnson used his
Ukrainska Pravda. They're spelling it with a Y. Might just be a factor of this. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah. Transitions are good. Hold on. Wait. 1 second. He's going to Pravda. Author, you might have read. Pravda, history of the game, but through votes. And super Oscars. Versions. Here's well, they spell it differently, but let's bring this over here. There you go. This is Ukrainska Pravda. Journalists fight on their own front line. These are these folks, whatever. I'm curious if this is the same, because there's a version that's spelled with a Y that might be different than this. So anyways, 99% of bodies exhumed in Izium have signs of violent death. Kharkiv Oblast military says Russia repeats its Bucha crimes in Izium. Zelensky, 7 Sri Lankan citizens who've been held by the invaders since March have been rescued in the Kharkiv region, says Zelensky. Energoatom delivers 25 trucks with spare parts, chemicals, and fuels to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Deputy puppet governor of Berdyansk killed along with his wife, responsible for preparations of referendum. Really? Yipes. Explosion kills prosecutor general in Luhansk. These are all the Russians that are there. That's from Russian media. Not seen, not agreed. Putin comments on possible meeting with Zelensky on the draft security guarantees. Let's see. Not seen, not agreed. Okay. Not seen. Get it. Russian President Vladimir Putin speaking at a press conference following his visit to Uzbekistan for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit said the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has no desire to meet with him and noted that he had not seen any proposals on security guarantees for Ukraine. What, from his own people? The first condition for the meeting to take place is that Ukraine agree, but they refuse. Zelensky has announced this. He said publicly, I don't know where, but publicly that he's not ready and does not want to talk to Russia. At the time, Putin mentioned, look at this, he's like, all right, what's the ad? The ad buys on Ukraine and Pravda, Adam and Eve, good stuff. At the same time, they've obviously been hearing me talk. I don't even know. I'm curious about what that does now. Air-powered stimulation. That concerns me. All right. Russia allegedly negotiated security guarantees in the form of a draft Istanbul agreement discussed in March 22. He claims this was why Russia pulled out its troops from Kiev. Yeah, that's why. In order to create the conditions concluding this agreement. And Common Dreams. I want to see what this is. Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky. Let's look at their article real quick. Boris Johnson pressured. Let's see. Boris Johnson. Okay, this is Common Dreams. This is from May. There. Okay. Common Dreams. Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky to ditch peace talks with Russia. Ukrainian paper. The British government is coming to an obstacle to peace in Ukraine. Said stop the war coalition. The conflict there is developing into a proxy war between Russia and NATO. Yeah, this is the same shit. Jake Johnson is telling these stories. Let's take a look at Jake Johnson's stories on this. Staff writer. This is about corruption fury as Senate poised to delay antitrust vote. Chicken shit watchdogs criticize Biden's DOJ's new corporate crime plan. Cave means grave. Jan 6 shows Oath Keepers emboldened by Trump tweet. Senate Democrats delay same-sex vote until after the midterms. Rail unions stress tentative deal must still win approval from rank and file. Yeah. That's fraud. Explosive docs reveal depth of climate lies by big oil ahead of House hearing. Tentative deal between the unions. Okay, we've seen the same one. Bernie Sanders to Warren Buffett, give rail workers better conditions, avoid strike. President Obama, there you go. Obama's coddling of Saudi Arabia. Goldman Sachs versus Democracy Spring. Hillary's right. Bernie Sanders isn't a mainstream Democrat. Here's why that's a good thing. This is 2016. So he doesn't write a bunch in this thing. So he's been writing. When did he start? Back here, 22nd. So he only shows up sort of around elections writing for Common Dreams, or did he went to school and came back? But let's see. Let's go back to this. Even after two sides appear to have made tenuous progress, this is the open link in new tab, citing unnamed sources with Zelensky's inner circle advisors, Pravda reported, open link in new tab. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, Ukraine's probably the peace talks with Russia are the story of how Ukraine has gone from despair to realizing its own strength in the circle of allies over 70 days of full-scale war. If on the first day of the war we had been allowed to sign a version of the peace agreement like the one we have now, we would have done it without a second thought. But now the agreement seems too much of a compromise for our side, member of Zelensky's inner circle. It's obvious that public recognition of such scenarios would be too brave. Zelensky's belief is the compound of two major changes in global politics. First, the myth of the power of Vladimir Putin. His army is gradually being crushed in the outskirts of Irpin and Rubizhine. Secondly, the isolationism of the West and its reluctance to help Ukraine have been finally buried in the mass graves of Bucha, Berdyansk, and Mariupol. Vladimir Putin had to conquer Ukraine in 72 hours. Ukraine only had one option: to surrender. These two simple sentences sum up the starting point of the Russia-Ukraine war, according to the peace talks. And accordingly, the peace talks. For those who doubt their veracity, it should be clarified that it is our partners from the West, not the Kremlin, who reported this scenario for Kiev and Zelensky. So you understand, Zelensky received the first offer to leave Ukraine and form a government in exile before the full-scale war. This offer was sincerely made to the president during the Munich conference, and they said it was better for Zelensky not to return to Ukraine. A member of the delegation in Munich told them, because they thought that they were just going to bomb the whole, they were going to decapitate the city. That was the intel everybody had, was that they were going to blow up Kiev and just wipe everybody out, including him. Zelensky was asked to choose either Warsaw or London. I had breakfast in Ukraine this morning, and I will have dinner in Ukraine. Remember that, like, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition, right? First, we did not know the exact plans of the Russian Federation, but when we seized the staff documents from dead Russian commanders near Kiev, we understood everything. It was all noted there. When and where the particular group should be, and elite paratroopers had to clear the government quarter in Kiev within 72 hours. And by the way, if you could get them out for 72 hours and they failed, you could bring them back in. That's what the West was saying. Like, clear them first. One day passed, second day passed, eventually third day, Istanbul peace. The first phase of Putin's plan failed, and the blitzkrieg by the world's second greatest army failed, but Russia's president still believed he had enough strength to force Ukraine to surrender during the talks. The leader of the Ukrainian negotiation team said in an interview, Zelensky's first task was to give the Russians the impression that Ukraine was ready to negotiate. Task was set, blah, blah, blah. Russians came to the first round of talks not to talk, but to formalize Ukraine's surrender. To cut a long story short, the essence of that agreement, David has it somewhere, is that we, Ukraine, are just giving up, and denazification and the rest of the Russia side's demand are on the top of all that, said one member of the delegation. It's clear the delegation had neither the power nor the authority to comply with such demands, especially since the instructions they had been given by the president were totally different. Our delegation went to the first meeting on 28 February with instructions that clearly stated that Russia must return to the borders of 23 February. That is no new occupation, withdrawal of troops, and so on, says one of the leading members of Zelensky's team who was involved in preparing for the negotiations. And this was the secondary attack. This is where they were, I think. I want to say, Russian-controlled territory. They had all this shit. We watched all this play out. And then Boris, where's the part in this? It's got to be later. Here it is. Boris Johnson or put pressure on Putin. The Russian side, no matter what anyone says, can read signals and was actually ready for the Zelensky-Putin meeting. But two things happened. After which Mikhailo Podolyak, a member of the Ukrainian delegation, had to openly admit that this was not the time for a meeting between the presidents. The first thing was the revelation of atrocities, rapes, murders, massacres, looting, indiscriminate bombings, and hundreds and thousands of other war crimes committed by Russian troops in the temporary occupied Ukrainian territories. How and what can we talk about with Putin if we cannot talk about Bucha Irpin, Bordyanka, Azovstal. The moral gap, the gap in values between Putin and the rest of the world is so huge that even the Kremlin doesn't have long enough negotiating table to cover it. The second, much more unexpected obstacle to agreements with the Russians arrived in Kiev on the 9th. Here you go. Johnson brought two simple messages to Kiev. The first is that Putin is a war criminal. He should be pressured, not negotiated with. And the second is that even if Ukraine is ready to sign some agreements or guarantees with Putin, they are not. They are not. I guess the British. We can sign an agreement with you, Ukraine, but not with him. Anyway, he will screw everyone over, is how one of Zelensky's close associates summed up the essence of Johnson's visit. Behind the visit, in Johnson's words, there's much more than a simple reluctance to get involved in agreements with Russia. Johnson's position was that the collective West, which back in February had suggested Zelensky should surrender and flee, now felt that Putin was not really as powerful as previously had been imagined. Moreover, there's a chance to press him, and the West wants to use it.
Surprise visit to Kiev. Surprise! In April to pressure
What a douchebag.
President Zelensky to cut off peace negotiations with
Yeah, peace negotiations. He's like, but we're this close to peace. No, cut them off. No, we're not doing that. We can't.
Russia, even after two sides appeared to have made tenuous progress toward a settlement to end
No, they didn't.
the war. Pravda's reporting, along with the public statement
They made tenuous progress, but they couldn't bring up any of the rapes and murders. That was one of the sticking points.
of Johnson and other Western leaders heightened long-standing concerns that the global powers are actively dashing the chances of a diplomatic resolution to Russia's war. The British government has become an obstacle to peace in Ukraine by encouraging the continuation of the war through huge arms shipments and incendiary rhetoric, said Lindsay German, convener of the UK-based Stop the War Coalition.
Yes, the Stop the War Coalition. In the coalition, are there any Russians? No? Weird.
Those bars who can't trust the Stop the War Coalition. Who knows?
Yes, nobody ever uses an ironic name in those situations. Next thing you'll tell me that what was his name? What was the Florida congressperson who was on the Missing and Exploited Children's committee was exploiting children?
Who knows what their motives are? Well, we just come together to stop wars. Yeah, you say that. What are you going to use? Mostly arms shipments and incendiary rhetoric? They wouldn't, would they? The US government has pumped more money and weapons into supporting the Ukrainian military than it sent in 2020 to Afghanistan, Israel, and Egypt combined.
Yeah, that was during COVID. Also, Israel doesn't need that many arms. Neither does Egypt. And Afghanistan, we were in the process, in theory, of getting out.
Surpassing.
Why would we send more shit? Why don't you just include every other country on Earth?
In a matter of months, three of the largest recipients of US military aid in history.
Surpassing in a matter of months three of the largest recipients of U.S. military aid in history. Maybe over the course of their existence.
Just to be clear, in case the algorithm turns against me, and because it's necessary to say so for...
I hope the Ukrainians get curb stomped by Vladimir Putin. I'm kidding. Or am I?
Moral reasons. I'm not saying that war's a good thing, or that...
Oh, really? It sounds like you're saying just let it fucking happen and don't get involved. If it happens someplace and you can help, you can save some lives or protect some people, don't do it. If there's a bigger, it's like natural selection. Just pretend you're shooting a nature documentary and you just have to watch the alligator eat the cat.
That Vladimir Putin and his imperialist plans are anything other than nefarious. Putin, I don't know anything about him, but I...
Is there a person on this planet that doesn't know anything about Vladimir Putin right now? You don't know anything about him? You don't know that he was former KGB? You don't know that he won't be going to Mikhail Gorbachev's funeral because Gorbachev represented the exact opposite of what he wants to do?
I assume he's like a despotic former KGB leader of the former Soviet Union, has his own agenda, his own objectives.
Where would you get that idea?
And I imagine if I knew more about them, I would agree that they are tyrannical.
If I cared to look. But the important thing is that I'm busy shitting on America for helping. I can't... My problem was with Batman. If I heard about the Joker and the fact that he gassed an entire city and killed a bunch of people and was a domestic abuser in his relationship and committed multiple rapes and murders, I'll probably not like him. But my question is even though the Joker is out there and he's killing people, and if he knows who you are and you try to fight him, he'll kill your whole family. Why won't Batman take his mask off?
All of those things, let's take that as read. The mainstream media...
Let's just take it as read. No, let's take it as you refuse to read. That's what I'm taking it as.
Yeah, doing a pretty good job, I understand.
Bane was an idiot.
And of reporting on that. What's not being reported on...
Johnny Rotten interview I sent you where Johnny dumps on Russell Brand? No, but I would love... I'll watch it, Robert. Did you tweet it to me? I'll look at it. Thank you for the super chat, by the way.
It seems, though, is that the State Department have stopped revealing how much money they're spending.
Hooker is a better price than OAN at $4.99. Thanks, Bald Thanos.
No one's telling you the extent of public expenditure that ended up in the hands of military contractors. No one's
They don't end up in the hands of military contractors. They're ending up in the hands of Ukrainian forces fighting Russia.
Making super clear that all of a sudden...
What are you pointing at, you prick?
Ukraine is getting more money than Israel, Egypt, and Afghanistan.
In 1 year. In one particular year. And that particular year was during COVID. While we were in the process of leaving Afghanistan and there wasn't a hot war between Egypt and fucking Israel. What?
And no one is making it clear enough that Boris Johnson pressured Zelensky.
He didn't pressure him. He was realistic about the fact that England is not going to sign on to a deal with Russia. You might do it. You might have to do it. You might feel like you have to do it. We're not going to do it because the dude's he murdered someone in England. He had a dissident snuffed miles from your house, Russell. Fucking hell.
Into prolonging this war. I'm sure there's a counter narrative. Oh, he's doing it for the right reasons or whatever. I don't know.
I don't care. I'm busy shitting on the United States and making up a narrative that the Illuminati is controlling you through Pfizer, and there's probably something in the vaccine tracking you right now.
No, you let me know in the comments below. But just letting you know that we're not naive.
Who's we, motherfucker? You are.
To Putin's malfeasance.
Yeah, you are. You just said, I don't know anything about him. If I did know about him, I probably wouldn't like it. Maybe. I don't know.
Up to half of the $14 trillion spent by the Pentagon since 9/11 went to for-profit defense contractors.
Okay. That's like Boeing. Beyond the fact, like, he's making, like, we spent $7 trillion on Blackwater.
As a study found. That's trillion. That's that number trillion. That's so many zeros, I can't even imagine them in my mind. But
here, I'll help you. $5 trillion worth of currency exchange goes through Goldman Sachs computers every 24 hours.
As you remember, around the time of 9/11,
we're almost done with this, I think.
None of the
By the way, has this asshole said anything useful about Ukraine this entire time?
people that are in government then had associations or connections to military-industrial complex. There were no shady characters, no shady deals, no confusing contradictions in that narrative. So this $14 trillion, half of which going to defence contractors, that's not like so soldiers can have comfy pillows and nice boots. That's so billionaires can, I don't know.
First of all, private contractors make the boots. Because setting up a factory to make soldier boots is not something that is financially feasible for any major country. Like, battleships are technically made by contractors.
I don't know what they get up to. It's presumably quite good fun. So there we go. We have...
What do you mean, there we go?
An energy crisis.
Did he address that at all? At all? Did he address, quote, the energy crisis? What does he even define? Did he even define what the energy crisis is? That the prices are going up? Is it a crisis to pay more for something so that you're not morally supporting violence against civilians? Is that a crisis? Or is that just a challenge you take on purpose?
We have an ongoing war that could have been prevented.
How? No, we don't. Where the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? How could it have been prevented? Where was that established? There's an assumption that Zelensky was close to having a peace treaty and Boris Johnson fucked it up is stupid to begin with. But it at least makes at least admit that you were halfway through. You know, they were like 3 months in at this point. Where was the prevention part? What do you mean, the last 4 months of the 7-month war?
We have people in charge that are willing to destroy the planet in order
More money goes through BlackRock every hour than Goldman Sachs. That's true, Balthanos.
to sort of look cool and hard. Is this exactly what you want? Do you think we're on track to find a peaceful solution in Ukraine? Do you think...
Who's we, motherfucker? Yeah, we're on track. We're helping them drive the Russians out. That's how it's happening. And our dear friend Malcolm Nance will be over there. Hold on. Oh, good Lord. Our dear friend Malcolm Nance will be on. Will be helping these guys rest in peace. How about that?
The right politicians, the right diplomats, the right mentality are all in place for a peaceful resolution? Do you think the current energy crisis is going to be brought to a halt? Or, riddle me this, is this energy crisis beneficial to some powerful interests in the world?
Again, he has to define what he means by crisis. The price going up or the price coming down? The unavailability of Russian and oil and gas? Europe no longer finding that as a primary source. Obviously, the Norwegians, the Swedish, the Finnish don't have the same problem. The Polish don't.
Could this crisis be used to introduce more regulation to shut down dissidents? You tell me.
More regulations to shut down dissidents?
You let me know in the comments.
Oh my God. Again, it's exit through the fucking gift shop with this asshole every time. Let me be abundantly clear. What you heard in this video was blather for one, and a bunch of sort of like pseudo sarcasm passing itself off as jokes. But the other thing is you just saw an ignorant man repeating talking points that are dismissive of violent, horrifying realities that human beings are going through, as if it's I don't know, maybe it's a thing, blah, blah, blah. And attacking the very side that is trying to help those people because he somehow, that's his mission. And the way he does it is by making these kind of makes you think statements without any follow-up on any of it. There were 3 promises in this. All of them were shortchanged, I feel. And the beginning of the video being called Russell Brand on Ukraine war is in and of itself fucking disgusting. I don't need to finish out with him saying, fucking like and subscribe or some dumb shit like that. I'm aggravated. I am now aggravated. It's true.